What's happening, everybody? I'm Steve, and welcome back to Junk Drummer TV. Of course, this video was inevitable. The channel could not go on until I did something like this, and I did not want to do it alone, so I brought my much more talented and better-looking friends in to help me honor this great man, Taylor Hawkins. So you've seen one of these cats on my channel already. I've got Rodney Elkins. He is, of course, the drummer of soulful country star Tyler Childers, plays with Ona. Has a fantastic band of his own called El Dorado. I have Jared Holly, bottom left, I think, if this records in the order that's up. He is in one of, quite frankly, the best rock bands in the fucking country right now. He's in a band called Duquesne. And then our bottom right is Jeffrey McClellan. He is the millennial Renaissance man. He's actually the guy who has done all of the artwork on my channel. So he's also, on top of a great musician, he is also a great graphic designer. So all those t-shirts that I sold, he's the guy that did the design of them. And he plays with, Of the Dell. He plays with, actually Holly Elizabeth Forbes, who you may know as the former contestant on The Voice. Also plays with a band called Massing. And then he just turns down calls all day to get, to people come to have him come play in their band. So fellas, another one of our brothers. It's weird when that happens. Like when none of us have met Taylor, you know what I mean? We've all just listened to him, but it's like this fraternity brother has gone on. Jeffrey, you're the youngest of our cast here. Like, Foo Fighters is kind of like the phone book, which is an old reference. Like everybody gets it, right? Everybody gets it. Like Jeffrey, tell me what you think about Taylor Hawkins.
I mean, man, I was really putting thought into this, and I can remember specific moments where I was first picking up drums and just like seeing him play, and it's just like what it gave me, not just like how I played the drums, influence for how I played the drums, but like my live show too. So like, just cracking those rim shots and beating on your drums with a smile on your face, enjoying it, putting on a show for everybody while playing to the song. You know what I mean? And it's just like, we had the same influences from, Roger Taylor, Stuart Copeland. Those were both of our opposite ends, and those were our bookends, and we smashed everything in the middle. And so I mean, man, it's just, I don't know, one of my biggest influences as far as what you'll see from me on stage. Just means so much.
So Jared, I say this all the time, you are one of my favorite drummers because you are an unabashed fucking rock and roll drummer. You're never going to hear Jared be like, "Hey guys, you want to get together and play some jazz?" Like Jared shows up, rocks, and leaves.
He hates brushes, by the way.
I fucking hate brushes too, dude. I had to do a lesson the other day, and I was like, and he was like, like the kid was bummed. I was like, "Look, man, I know you did not start playing drums so you could go scratchy on a fucking snare drum.
Look,
I
dude,
understand."
Nobody has ever paid me to play soft. Like, nobody wants it. For me, like if you want to call somebody else, you're not gonna get it,
So like with you, Jared, like the Foo Fighters, people always talk about, like even Rick Beato talks about how like rock and roll is dead. Greta Van Fleet's the only rock band that exists that's not, a band from fucking 20 years ago. The Foo Fighters were able to keep rock and roll relevant through all of the fads from when they started, which I think was like 96, 97 was when that first record came out. Like Jared, how much was Taylor an influence on you being someone who is like trying to keep the rock and roll flame burning?
I mean, a huge influence. He was, there was a lot of times that I would listen to him play, and I was like, that is what I want to do. Duquesne has a song called Phoenix that is essentially like I'm just doing my best impression to play the drum part from My Hero. And
I knew that's where you were going when you said that. I hadn't thought of it until just now. As soon as you said Phoenix, I knew what you were talking about.
yeah, so that's what's going on in that. I mean, it takes a special dude to sit behind Dave Grohl and hold it down.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, and so as a rock and roll drummer, I guess is what we're going with as far as how Steve thinks of the way that I play. I think that he was incredibly important. I don't know that you would necessarily call him a virtuoso or somebody who's gonna do insanely technical stuff, and he had it. But as far as like playing to the song, like Jeffrey was talking about, that dude was it. He was just that. The song was the most important to him, and it was really cool to see that, and not somebody who's trying to absolutely stand out and just play what they're there to do.
So, Hot Rod, you are the one on our panel that has actually played similar places that like the Foo Fighters played. With Tyler Childers, you have played on some of the biggest stages in America. I'm pretty sure Foo Fighters probably played Red Rocks, that you have played Red Rocks as well. Tell us about how did he do it? Like when you go from we all started out as club guys, and I know that we've all played, big shows and small. We've played shows to thousands, and we've played shows to the wives and girlfriends and the bartender. Like Rodney, he was such a perfect live drummer. Tell us about like making that change from, playing at our local club that we all played at to now you're playing in front of 10, 15, 20, 25,000 people.
Well, to me, it's like you lose a lot of subtleties in your playing when you get that to that scale, like that much bigger. The little inner notes, like your diddles or something on a 6-stroke roll, you won't hear that in a big place. Not all the time. At least, and he had a way. This guy was like Stretch Armstrong. I've been watching videos. Like I'm starting to think about things in life, and it's unfortunate that dying is the best thing for your career. And it's like people appreciate after the fact. I'm guilty. I'm guilty of it. Sometimes an artist or another drummer will die, and I'll be like, damn, I hate that it took me this to like go down a rabbit hole with them, and he was like, I don't know how he played so hard being his size and getting the cleanest stuff when it looks like he wasn't trying. Does any of that make sense?
Yeah. Well, it's
Absolutely.
proof. Well, it's proof that like the power isn't in like a muscle.
No.
You know what I mean? Like
I don't know what sticks he played or whatever, but it's like that's all whatever.
I've gotten a comment before in literally just a photo of somebody that I used to endorse, a cymbal company I used to endorse. They posted a photo of me, and somebody said, "Really, a metal drummer with that size, like he can't hit. It's not in the size of your muscle.
Dude.
It's technique, and man, it's able to smack them.
It comes from
little dudes not play quiet.
Yeah. Well, dude, we were just talking about him offline. Joey Jordison was like fucking 5'3" or something.
Yeah,
like he was a tiny guy. He had another one of our fraternity that left way too soon. Hot Rod, you had on one of your social media posts, I want to return to that because I think it'll also spin us out into some of the people that we've lost in the business as well. That idea of like making sure that you appreciate while they're around.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I never saw them like Taylor or the Foo Fighters. Or what I found out recently, the touring band from 95, 96, Alanis Morissette.
Oh yeah.
That was
They- That band rules.
dude, man, I'm the oldest one in here, so I remember, like, dude, I didn't have a relationship with a woman who didn't love Alanis Morissette for like 20 years. You know what I mean? Like, dude, if you dated a girl in the 90s, you heard that shit, and that's where I think people forget, like, in that video, which was one of the biggest, like. That was when music could be larger than life. I have this idea that, like, there's just too much music right now, and nothing can be the biggest thing in the world.
I thought anybody that played music in 95, 96 was the coolest person on the planet.
God,
Like, I had no like shield against any type of music. It was just like, holy shit, you play drums, like, you're awesome.
Dude, my channel's so Gen X. If you go through the videos, like, oh, Steve's obviously 45 years old from the fucking videos that I've done. And dude, that guy, we can get into like career choices. That guy's in that video that's probably been seen more than just about anything. You Ought to Know was the biggest thing in the world. And he was touring like football stadiums with her, and left that and took a chance because, like, when the Foo Fighters came out, if you watch the documentary Back and Forth, that's one of the all-time great documentaries. They were just playing clubs. They were playing like the Whiskey, you know what I mean? And Taylor saw how great Dave Grohl was, and they were like best buds off stage, I guess. And that's a ballsy move. That could have not gone anywhere. Chris Novoselic doesn't have a band that's the biggest band in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, that just showed like how much musical wisdom that guy had.
Yeah, and heart.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Because it's like, no, I know. I was listening. You ever listen to the Wong Notes podcast, like Corey Wong from Wolfpack and stuff? It's really good. It's really good. I implore each and every one of you to.
Yeah.
Steve Jordan's episode's really good.
I mean,
Yeah, and he was like, not to sidetrack, but Steve Jordan can do whatever he wants. But he did say, he was like, I would have loved to have played with George Jones. And I was like, ooh, my hero.
Steve Jordan said that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was like, I love you. He carried James's guitar once. Held the elevator for us at Sirius XM. He's like, no, let the band go. It's like, this guy understands.
what is that?
Hot Rod's talking about his touring guitar player was his guitar was being held by
He carried
Steve
the
Jordan.
guitar down because we had to load everything up, like downtown Manhattan. Sorry to digress, but it's Steve Jordan. But anyways, no, I implore all of you to listen. I wrote it down.
Yeah, post-it notes.
I love post-its. Pink Pop 96, the You Learn video.
Yeah.
With Alanis Morissette, and Letterman 95, You Ought to Know.
Right. Dude, that record.
Those two videos.
The
Letterman
was the
one?
biggest thing in the world.
As somebody that's played late night, the fact that performance was pulled off, it's so good. And it's like, that's a stressful day.
Right.
No matter what you've done before that, like, you could have been on the road for like 2 months before that. And it's like, well, you're going to go do Letterman real quick. And so I'm fucking tired.
Little known fact about You Ought to Know, the bass player for that track on the album is Flea.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and the
I didn't know either.
Go
the
back and
guitar
listen.
player-
I didn't catch that. I looked it up to see if Taylor played on the record, and it's like,
Nah, it's all drum machine.
Yeah, the guitar player on that is Dave Navarro.
oh, nice.
That record.
It's not a drum machine. It is a name.
Well,
There's
it's got a
name.
mixture.
Yeah.
They have the live drummer and they have a drum machine, and you'll hear through
There's
the
a
verse
little-
sometimes there will be the drum machine will come, and then they'll bring in the live drummer, and they don't drop out the drum machine. They're so
Right.
locked in,
Okay.
and it makes it such a full sound because the drum machine will be throwing in these little percussive pieces, and the drummer's just
Yeah.
just so you get this new depth of the two blending.
Yeah, but
It's awesome.
go listen to "You Ought to Know" again, and you'll be like, "Oh, yeah, that's Flea."
Clearly, it's Flea. Once
Like-
you know
like-
it.
Into the verse, he's like, and you're just like, "Oh shit, that's Flea!" Like you can just tell.
That record,
Matt Log.
Matt
Laug. Laug. Log.
Ah, dude, I've never heard of that guy at all. That record was made, is it Glenn Ballard's the producer? That record was made with two blackface ADAT machines. That's how that record was made, with like 16 channels, two daisy chained, 8-channel. Is it ADAT? Is that the right word?
And they clipped the hell out of the mic pre for her, and a lot of other engineers were like, "Oh, you can't do that. That's terrible." No, it sounds perfect. That's why it's so aggressive. She's like 17 or something, just like screaming at you. Oh,
Watch
awesome.
those live ones, Jeff, because it's like
Yeah,
she's getting it. She's getting
You know how
after it.
crazy it is that we know this much about Alanis Morissette's.
Dude, it was the 90s, man.
She was the biggest
Yeah.
thing in the world.
Dude, everything. We soaked up a lot in the mid-90s.
Is so crazy that
Jeff wasn't even born.
Taylor was like, nah,
I was
pass.
born in '96, baby.
That's it. He came out of the womb to Alanis Morissette.
That's right.
He
I
may
came
have
out,
been
I heard-
conceived to Alanis Morissette.
Yeah, exactly. But you ought to know about this baby.
So, like, this is kind of like I liked about this is like it's so easy. And I did another video of homage to him for Andrew Rooney, who's another drum reactor guy who's kind of become my buddy in real life there. And I talked about like it could be easy to be sad because it's a fucking tragedy because he was only 50
Right.
years old.
It's young.
Very young, right? He had so many more years to go. But it's so good to like, this is how you should remember someone, you know, let it spike memories of other things. And that's how you can joyfully, and to your Facebook post, that's so boomer. So your Facebook post, on your Tumblr, talk about,
My live journal.
journal. I've got a dead
Sometimes
journal
I think
somewhere.
about starting a live journal.
Zynga.
Which one?
This is Zynga.
Oh God! But like,
Is that block game?
is that Wordle? Is that Wordle? Is that where I came from? But you know, using their memory to bring joy, because that's what we're trying to do, right? No matter what genre you play, and everybody in here plays all kinds of like pretty disparate genres. Because hell, Jeffrey used to be in like one of the better, like you would call that like metalcore. Jeffrey, is that what you kind of called that band?
Yeah, that's where like the roots kind of were. We sort of moving more into just like more hardcore rock, like hard rock.
Right.
But I guess that little core piece is still in there somewhere. But
They had great great
yeah.
breakdowns. But all these disparate styles that we have, we're all united around just like one of the best. And like Jared said, man, this guy's not going to play Tom Sawyer. He probably could play Tom Sawyer. He did play. You know, he was one of only 3 people to ever play with Rush that wasn't Neil and John Rutsey. He actually played a song with Rush. Yeah, Taylor Hawkins was.
wow, I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah, but you know, he was just, and that band just single-handedly keeping rock and roll alive, and just good meat and potatoes, badass rock drumming. You know, we weren't worrying about any Danny Carey 17/4. Although they did have that one song where they've got some odd times. They slipped some odd time
Yeah.
stuff in there.
Times
that-
like these,
It's
at the
in
very
7.
beginning of Times Like These, that riff,
Look at it.
like that.
Yeah, that 3-bar that they sneak in there.
Yeah.
So, you know, we talk about being joyful with it, but also I know a lot of kids watch my channel, and anytime I address this stuff, and I've had to address it, unfortunately, because I've had to do a lot of like tragic stuff on my channel. You know, I've done a couple Rev videos from Avenged Sevenfold. You know what I mean?
Part of the lesson.
It is. That's what I hope, anyway.
Has to be.
And we all are touring drummers, and I always say this: I am not a angel and no angel whatsoever. So I do not want to come off sounding like I am self-righteous about this subject.
Right.
But we've all been in the van and looking for something that helps us get through to the next gig and the next gig and the next gig. And I know that I personally just lost another great drummer that I'm going to do a video on when I can sit down and do it. Matt Wolf from Byzantine.
Yeah.
Talk about anybody that wants to jump in here about just like trying to stay away from those pitfalls that are so easy to fall into, that the most famous drummer in the world and the most biggest band in the world fell into them as well.
Well, I really hope that it doesn't come out that anything in that regard was the cause for Taylor. I know it's been reported that 10 substances or whatever were in his system, and not a doctor. Don't know anything.
Right.
Not claiming to know anything, but just seeing the list was just like, I felt like, and I could probably be easily corrected, all that stuff could have been prescribed just in some sort of extent for pain. You ever been on a flight to another continent and then you have to play? It's like, it sucks. It's
not to mention his posture when he plays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're sleeping like this on the airplane, and it's like you sat down for a living, you've been sitting down all day, your back hurts, your legs hurt, your wrists hurt, you've been playing hundreds of shows, one of the biggest bands in the world. It's very easy to find remedies to get you through. A lot of times it's alcohol.
Right.
Kind of gets the mundaneness away. A lot of.
And then on the other end of it, to get you lively again when it's showtime.
Yeah.
Other things.
Smoke a little marijuana, do a tootski.
Yep.
And it's like, it's everywhere. If you wanted it, you could just be like, hey, where I can, and
the answer is yeah.
Yeah, and then before you know it, it's like 2 years gone by, and you're like, man, I've been doing this, and this for the last 6 months. I should probably calm down.
Right. He does have a history of it. In 2001, he OD'd and was in a coma for about 7 days. So
it's very easy to do, man. Not a lot of people understand it. It's like, oh, I want I want a refund because the show I saw wasn't as good as the one y'all saw. It's like, well, so fucking what? That was my 150th show in a row, or my 78th show in a row. I've had a week off in 2 months, 3 months. Right. Oh, I know our perfect life, but it's like, it's fucking hard.
It's a meat
turn
grinder.
It on to 197% instantly for at least 90 minutes, 45 minutes.
Right.
And then what are you going to do with all that access in your body of chemicals that just got you raging?
Yeah.
Naturally. Yeah. That's not even chemically, just like all the adrenaline and stuff you get. Just like, where do I put that? Right. I'm in a strange city.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Strange
country.
I'm gonna
go drink. Met a guy that's got a bag of Coke. I did Coke all night.
Yeah. And what we're trying to get across with all the kids who do watch my channel is if you can, try not to do those things.
Yeah, sorry if that was harsh, but
no, because I want to be real too, because I don't want to bullshit.
That's the reality of it.
That is the truth.
Yeah, I don't want to bullshit nobody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very easy. You gotta have a strong constitution.
Yeah,
I mean, when COVID happened, we got off the road. I was 320 pounds.
You were not
unhealthy. I swear to God.
God damn, all right.
Maybe that scale was broken that day, but but it was very unhealthy, man.
So did you find yourself going out of your way to detox and say I got to get this off me?
Oh yeah,
out of me.
I mean, we did. Yeah, I mean, everybody I was kind of around at the time was doing the same thing. It's just like, man, it's been a couple years of just drinking every day and every weekend, every day, Saturday night on the road, dude. No matter whether it's Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's Groundhog Day. Every day's the same.
back a 30 rack or two every single night. I mean, with you and the guys, it's easy to get really unhealthy really fast.
And especially if, your rider calls for like a bunch of whiskey and stuff every night. It's like, you on a tour bus 2 weeks, you get free whiskey every night. You ain't drinking a bottle of whiskey every night. You ain't drinking 3 bottles of whiskey a night between people. And all of a sudden, all your drawers on the bus are just full of whiskeys. Oh, it's a day off. Well, I don't have to pay for booze. I got booze right here. I'm going to drink all day.
Now, Jeffrey, I was at your 21st birthday and bought you one of your first beers as a legal alcohol. Now, Jared, I think you don't do that when you play.
I don't know.
Talk about that.
I don't anymore until after.
That is the exception to the rule. And Jared, as far as I know, you've always been that way.
Yeah. I may have, like, on a very rare occasion, if we have like an early sound check and we're just sitting around, I'll have a single beer. But 99% of the time I walk on stage completely sober. And that's for me. That's because I know that, in our band and the way that we do things, I'm kind of the conductor. And so I don't want to mess up the dudes that are in my band because I'm not on my A game. So I don't do anything before the show at all.
And
I just had on Facebook Memories pop up a couple of days ago. It was like 3 years or 4 years ago today. You were in Wisconsin at this gig, and I remembered it was this bar crawl that some random guy on the street grabbed us and bought all of our drinks the whole way. And so, of course, free drinks the whole way. And then I get a call.
Very
Hey,
enticing.
I had to go. Yeah, I had to go 2 blocks back to the venue, hurry up, set up, and I played. And it was terrible. But one of the guys afterwards was just like yelling at me about how bad of a show I had. And it was like, man, you guys can mess up all day long, and that's not a problem. But me as a drummer, if I mess up, now it ruins the whole show. Heaven forbid I have one bad show. But I mean, it's legit. Like, I've not let that happen anymore because you got to be there to hold it down.
Yeah. I mean, it is your responsibility to be the rock that you were there to be. And so
everybody's leaning on you. You can't fall over.
Yeah. Exactly.
The guitar player, you're right about that. The guitar player can definitely get by with sour notes, but the drummer, when you fuck up, everybody in the back.
It's like the sitcom opening. It's like,
well, like most people, most people,
everybody's like,
they're not going to know if a guitar player hits a sour note, but they're definitely going to know if you drop a beat.
Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
Yeah, exactly.
Able to tell. And I don't want to sound self-righteous by saying that, like, that's for me. If it's somebody else's thing that they got to have a couple drinks in order to go up there, then that's on them. But just for me,
as long as they can perform, no matter what they do, I don't care.
Because I trust myself to do it the right way.
The reason why I brought that up, Jared, and this gets into kind of sometimes this, like, and I've had band members. I'm going to try not to talk and say, give it away. They kind of got into this, like, the mysticism of the buzz that makes the jam better. And I think that it can happen. And what happens is when it does happen, you think that that's how it has to be every time. And I in my younger days, I was in a jam band, fellas. So, I know what I'm talking about.
Did you do it in shorts?
Yeah.
No, fuck no. I've never wore shorts. Even when I was in a punk band and at high school, I didn't wear fucking shorts.
Taylor wore shorts all the time. I mean, he pulled it off.
But he was Southern California, though. That's something about him is, like, he is the ultimate Southern California guy. I hate, and Jeffrey, I've seen you do it. I hate when drummers play with their fucking shirts off. Like, fucking put your shirt on. But, like,
I will say, I don't know that I've maybe pulled my shirt off one time, but my friends always try to get me to do it. And I always say,
I must have been at the one show that you had your shirt off.
Probably.
If I had the body for it. Just get away with it.
Dude, you're the only one that can drum without their shirt off.
Yeah.
But Taylor, I usually hate that, but I was like, he never wore sleeves. He just looked like, beach bum, Southern California. And, like, it never bothered me when he did it.
When I saw them live, he had the sickest Van Halen, like, red and white and black striped board shorts on. when he came out
Oh,
to
yeah.
do his little Queen cover thing. It was so
Dude,
Man.
and that's one thing I was gonna touch on was him coming out front and doing his Queen cover, because just seeing the dynamic between Taylor and Dave is just incredible, and it brought me back to playing gigs with my band Fever War and my frontman Nick, who struggled with the same stuff and ended up taking his life a couple years ago, and just seeing, even with the struggles that they were having, the way their dynamic was just praising each other and like, this is the greatest drummer in the world. I couldn't do it with anybody else. And from the drums, even though like he and I were like, brothers that just like bickered at each other all the time. When I was back down the drums, it was like, nobody can replace this guy. And sorry.
Dude, it's okay. It was going to come. Well, what you're saying there too, Jeffrey, is your band, Fever War, which is another great band. Go back and check that out. And of course, a horrendous tragedy hit that. And what that really shows is like, man, we are all equal. You know what I mean? That shit happened to, a band in Appalachia that were great, and it happened to the biggest band in the world that was great. So it's just like this great equalizer where it doesn't matter what your bank account is. Doesn't matter who your parents are, that shit can hit you. And if we can just like save one fucking person from going down that road, we have done a good thing today. Cause man, Fever
I would
War
always say,
I don't know what's going on with them either, because like, again, it's just, you see how happy they all were on stage, they're having the best time in the world. And then it's unexpected.
played the night before, just like Chris Cornell, his last tweet, Chris Cornell's last fucking tweet was, come see us in Detroit or wherever it was they were playing in Michigan. You know what I mean? And like, I go check that out, because I did a video on the anniversary of his death. And like, if that can happen to Chris Cornell, where like life gave you aces everywhere, every part of Chris Cornell's life was pocket aces. Yeah. He was the best looking dude in the world. He had like a beautiful family. He had the best voice. He had one of the best bands, and it still hit that guy.
Two best bands.
Two best bands.
Yeah,
shit, man. Yeah, fucking Audio Slave, man. I teach coaches all the time to some of my, beginner students. That shit's great. I could have done without a lot of the power ballads that they got into, like later on. I could have done less Like a Stone, a little more Gasoline, if you know that song from the first record.
Yep.
But this
need
stuff,
a couple monster ballads in there.
Boy, they had some. When did? I've got a Discord server, and my fucking screen name is Tom Morello's Mercedes. Fuck him. I love Rage Against the Machine, but I went to go before the world shut down. I was going to go drive somewhere to see Rage when they came back out. God damn, those tickets were like $350, $400, $500, and not good seats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Shit, dude. I'm going to fucking watch Duquesne and pay $10 to see a fucking band that I know stands for something. Rage Against the Machine now is the Machine. Anyway, sorry. I couldn't believe it. I was like, are y'all like funding terrorism in other countries with these fucking ticket prices? What the fuck, dude?
Yeah, it takes a lot to pay everybody.
Fuck, I hear you, son. Zach De La Rocha, they say that he did that. Like, there's rumor that Zach De La Rocha was like funneling money to the Zapatistas in Mexico, which was like a paramilitary group. So I mean, those rumors are out there.
What he was saying,
Say that again.
So that dude believed what he was saying.
Oh, he believes it. Tom Morello's Mercedes. I don't know if he does. Sorry, but yeah. So like, getting back to and kind of wrapping it up. Like, everybody, and I know it's so hard, and everybody tries, and that's one of the worst parts about the performative art that is online living and social media. Trying to sum up in some sort of profound way what somebody that you've never met. Like, I was sitting on the couch with my waifu, and the waifu is a gigantic Foo Fighters fan. Like, she's seen him a few times. Like,
waifu fighter.
She's a waifu fighter, dude. She is. She talks about him like Dave. She says like Dave and Taylor, right? She, first name
Right.
type shit, right?
Yeah.
And when that push notification came on my phone, I like grabbed her leg and I was like, baby, you know, like that idea of like, I've never met him. I know some people who have. Taylor Jones fucking hung out with him a lot. But how you can be affected by someone that you've never met. And Jeffrey, I know that your band did this same thing because your lead singer was kind of like a iconic guy in that scene. So I know you've
Right.
probably heard shit like this before. Like that idea of like you touching someone and they almost feel like a family member has gone.
Yeah, and it'll I mean that's one thing that we were getting a lot of, and it took me a while to really understand where they were coming from, because for a while it was like, man, shut up, you don't know anything about this, this isn't your life, stay out of this, stop pretending. But then it gets to a point where it's I realized that they were so involved emotionally or just whatever it may be, they were involved with the band, their support, that they felt like they were a part of the family. And so when something like that hits, it really hits them too. And that was why they were coming across that way. So I have just grown to accept it and see it for what it is, and kind of embrace it.
Well, I mean, that's what we're trying to do, right? We're all trying to
Yeah,
organize.
exactly.
It's help. It gets you through, man. You don't.
Yeah.
How much does music get you through things?
Mm.
You know, like all the
100%.
time. To me, if I'm having a
Yeah.
shitty day, Allman Brothers Blue Skies is guaranteed to get me out of a bad mood. And for nothing else will work.
Yeah.
Allman Brothers Blue Skies gets me out of a bad mood.
That's some uplifting shit right there.
And it's like people, like you said, get so emotionally invested in that, and the people that create that music, it's better than therapy. It's better than pills.
Yeah, I mean, like, for people who are like super fans of bands like that, like their songs are the soundtrack to their lives.
You've tapped into their soul.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
like you have a shit day at work and you're like, I'm gonna throw on Times Like These. And and that song just like connects and like grabs a hold of your heart. And so when the person who helped create that song, passes away, you really do lose something. And I think that, that's something that a lot of people have to keep in mind. Like when you see somebody who
Right.
keeps posting about it or trying to, connect or something, like that's someone who has really been touched,
I haven't listened to the Foo Fighters that much. And I mean, I know the hits. I know of all of them. I've heard a lot. Like, I like Rope a lot.
That's a great song.
That's a great song.
Fucking ride pattern.
Have you tried to play that?
My God, that ride pattern is disgusting.
Dude, I tried to play it yesterday, and I was like, okay, this will probably take me a few tries. It's like, it's easy. I can do the ride part.
Yeah.
It's everything else.
Putting it all together.
Making every other limb work while you're
It's making it sound as good as he did,
Mhm.
even though it's all
effortless, which is a word
quote
brought up
unquote
earlier.
easy.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you brought something up that, man, God, we're going to do this all day. I'm having too much fun. In that documentary, and me and Hot Rod, we've talked this about like imposter syndrome and like that idea of just like, am I good enough? Should I even fucking be here? What the fuck am I doing? Taylor Hawkins in that fucking documentary on Back and Forth, they were documenting when they made that record in Dave's garage, where like Butch Vig showed up with this like all the gear and they just made a garage record, of course, in Dave's mansion garage, right? And Taylor Hawkins, the man, the guy, said that like at the beginning of every record, I'm paraphrasing, at the beginning of every record, I think I'm the worst drummer ever. And I don't know why I'm here and why do people pay attention.
Dave Grohl's in the room.
Well, that doesn't help. But like it goes to what we were talking about with with Jeffrey's situation with Fever War. These things are just universal, and it crosses but all incomes and races and genders. It's everybody has that same shit. Taylor Hawkins would start a record and be like, I'm not good. Why am I here?
And I think that's why a lot of people connect with him as well. I mean, like I've seen, more outpouring in the past couple of days than I have for, a lot of musicians who have
Even Charlie Watts, I've
Yeah.
noticed that. Charlie, which I think maybe because Charlie was so old and it was like, it wasn't a tragedy. He was like 82 or 84. You know what I
Right.
mean? But like, dude, it's
I think-
everywhere.
I think that's why so many people connect with Taylor, because he wasn't afraid to voice that stuff that you were just talking about. Like he was just
Yeah.
open about it. Everybody was like, yeah, fuck
He
me
seemed
too.
like one of us, just like, just happened to be on the biggest stage in the world,
Oh yeah, he was one of us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Like just
Exactly.
everything he's always talked about. Like what's that quote? I make rock and roll for a living. So what do I have to say about it or something? And it's just like, oh yeah, he gets it. Or just like leaving the biggest tour and artist in the world in the mid 90s to go start fresh
Yeah.
with like
Yeah.
probably no promise of pay
hmm
ever. I mean, California prices were cheaper then, maybe, but it's like that's scary.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, but it's like you believe in it so much. It's like, oh yeah, he gets it. He gets it.
he was
He believes.
he was a super fan that made it, and he never stopped being a super fan. He never thought it was too cool. And it goes back to what you were talking about, Hot
Yeah.
Rod, about like making sure that you tell someone that you are appreciative. If you watched when Jimmy Page played with them at Wembley Stadium, I
You
think
need to watch that
was.
because he sings his ass off.
Dude, Taylor Hawkins,
Taylor
is
Hawkins
like,
hits
he can't
every
believe
Robert
it.
Plant note.
He can't believe he's on stage with Robert. Like you could have easily
And
like
Dave Grohl.
well, you could have
And
easily. My
Dave
point is,
Grohl.
you could have easily Bono'd that shit and been like, "Oh yeah, of course I'm supposed to be here. I'm fucking Bono." Nah. Like he was a fan. Like he was like,
Yeah.
"That's Jimmy Page right there," and that's us. That would be us.
Exactly.
You know what I mean, Rodney? I'm sure that when you played with Willie Nelson, you were like, "Oh, I'm fucking Hot Rod. I'm supposed to be on stage with Willie Nelson."
No.
Rodney's like, "That fucking Willie Nelson is
No.
right there."
I'm like, these two spoke English over here. I don't deserve to be up here.
Yeah,
Like, what am I even doing up here?
Somebody call Steve Jordan.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring him up one time because, because my favorite quote of Steve Jordan's. We're going to have to do this regularly, fellas. I think this might be a new thing on Junk Drummer TV. Steve Jordan said that the gig that he would never want to do, I think Jeffrey will totally get this, is play an AC/DC because he don't think he could do it. He said because there's something about what Phil Rudd does that's magical and it cannot be done.
Pop, 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 just solid as a fucking rock.
Dude, that's one of my go-to playing styles, is just like, how can I make this feel more like AC/DC? Because I know that this is my saying that I say to everybody. It's about pocket, because say pocket is what makes the song feel good. If the song feels good, people are dancing, people aren't shaking their ass. What's the point?
Yep.
That's what I always say, and that's what you get out of AC/DC. Even you're just, and it's intimidating at that level because it's like, I don't know if I can do it the same way. I would
Even
not
Steve Jordan
it's gonna
didn't think
be
he
what
could.
people see outside looking in. People are gonna look in and be like, "Oh, that's the easiest thing in the world." But it's like, yeah, on paper.
You don't get it, son.
You ever tried to play something easy that someone great does?
Go try it.
You
Go
can't.
do it. Go
Everything
play.
stands out that much more.
Yeah. It's like that pockets. What are they saying? It's about that wide, but it's about fucking
That deep.
a mile deep, son.
Yep.
But it's like
it's you can't write it down. It's black magic. It's just a thing
Taylor had
you
that.
can't. And Taylor had that all
Taylor had
day,
all day long.
all day, man. Just
Great fills, very musical, very.
Roto Toms, man. That's all I got to say.
Oh,
I hate calling
Roto
him.
Toms. I love it.
I hate calling him the drummer's drummer, but
He
like
is.
But yeah.
He played the drums very, very well, and we were all very lucky to have lived at the same time as him. I think.
Yeah, I got to hear all those. You know what he is, and that's another one because Jeffrey is also a producer. He's a producer's dream. Producers love drummers like Taylor Hawkins. They love that.
Good tone in the hands.
Yep.
Plays what's supposed to be played.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not 1 inch more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, you know, fellas, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you all so much for coming on here and helping me out do this because I didn't want to. I did a kneel by myself and like I became a fucking weepy mess and I couldn't get through it. And I wanted to come, I wanted my buddies come on here and do this. I think we may have to do this again on some more lighter fare.
Yeah.
Let's not save it until like somebody famous dies. That would be.
That's what I was
No.
thinking.
You know what I'm saying? So that's
Let's
the
just
thing.
do it next week on Steve Jordan.
Yeah,
There we go.
let's do it. We can
There
do
we
that.
go.
You know, I
Something we could all talk about for a couple hours.
That's no problem. Yeah.
Get ready for me to talk about a lot of John Mayer then. Because
I mean,
Dude,
I
I just recently revisited the Hail Hell Rock and Roll, and we're going to talk about them braids, and we're going to talk about.
oh, dude, sure. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to keep doing this. But, you know, it's music working on its highest level and doing what it does best. When you can give someone your art, you know, Jared's also a fantastic artist. When you can give someone the thing that you love and they love it and they give it back to you, it's all we're trying to do. You know, when we all started wanting to be, because I know everybody here wanted to be musicians when we were all kids. When we were 12 and 13, we weren't thinking about like monetary value or the next gig or like, you know, the next hustle. We just wanted to like make a joyful noise that would make someone else feel the way that we felt about music. And when you saw Taylor on stage, that was a man who was appreciative of what he did and what he had and what he got. The guy took nothing for granted. And I think that's why he's so universally loved. And it didn't hurt that he had one of the greatest songwriters in the world to play drums behind, and that was his best friend. So, like, you know,
It was a match of the universe, man. I believe in that shit wholeheartedly, and it was like, that was supposed to be that way.
That's supposed to happen. You know what I'm saying? You know, I think that you all are in those situations. And, you know, Jeffrey, I thought that back then. You know, I didn't know you that well back then, but I was always at the V Club watching you all play, and I was like, man, that's a match. You know what I'm saying? So like, if you can go through this life and have that, you know, I think I have that with Sasha. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, you know, we've all got that. We've all been very lucky. So, you know, we don't have Tom Morello's Mercedes in the car in the parking lot, but in the long run, that's what's most important. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, fellas, I want to let you all know I love you all. I love you all. I'm so glad that y'all came on and helped me out do this. We're going to do it again. So, Rodney Elkins, Ona, Tyler Childers, Eldorado, Jared Holly, Duquesne, because he don't need anything else. Fucking Jeffrey McClellan, Massing, Holly Elizabeth Forbes. You're going to see a lot of her lately coming up. Of course, she was a contestant who got fucked on The Voice. We all know it. Maybe we'll talk about that. Like, how could she fucking have to compete against a three-piece? That's bullshit. Like, she could go up there and be Aretha Franklin, but these fucking assholes are singing three-part family harmonies.
You can't argue with the harmonies.
She should have been able to. She should have been
Family
allowed.
harmony is unfuckwithable.
Dude, she should have been allowed to bring
Blood-related
other
harmony
people.
is unfuckwithable.
Which
She
is
should
what
have
I
been
get
allowed.
with
They're sharing science, and that's how they're getting.
Yeah,
the perfect-
you got a pair of twins, and then I got to throw my third part in there to go with the twin telepathy.
That's it.
I want to tell this story real quick because it puts Jeffrey over to the moon. So an old band of mine, we got booked to do a Beatles tribute show, right? So like my old band was kind of like very much like the embodiment of what Sgt. Pepper's was. So we did the Sgt. Pepper's record. Can't remember what the other bands did, but we all were like, can we not play after Of the Dell, please? Because we're going to get fucking blown off the stage. And that's exactly what they did that night. We played, Carpenter Ants played. Say it again, Jeffrey.
I said, for those of you watching and listening, people around here used to call them the Beatles Boys. So
yeah,
Beatles Boys,
dude. And Jeffrey and them came up, and Jeffrey, they'd worked out all these fucking harmonies. Of course, Jeffrey was fucking singing too, and they sound checked, and my band was like, "Yep, we're going to get blown off stage tonight because we got to fucking play behind them." But I loved watching my friend do well. And that's what Taylor was to us. He was almost like a friend we never got to meet. And we were just happy to see him do well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He never bonoed that shit.
Every show.
Yeah, he never bonoed that shit. So Taylor Hawkins, thank you all. Thank you for all the songs, man. And thanks for all the beats. And thanks for being a very good dude in an industry that sometimes is very short on good dudes. You know what I'm saying? So for Hot Rod, for Jared, for Jeffrey, thank you all for watching. And by the way, this will be a demonetized video. I want nothing for this. And if you see a video on there, it is only because YouTube runs videos on channels that are demonetized. And it is not me getting money from it because I don't want any money from this. Thank you all very much. And we'll see y'all next time.